So for reasons which are probably painfully clear, this PC is called the Commander. I've been playing Mass Effect since 2007. It's one of my favorite games of all time, so as you can see. But what we're going to be doing today is giving it a huge major overhaul. So with that, I'm Hobbs, and you are watching HMODS. This video is brought to you by CyberGameway, with an emphasis on exposing streamers of all types, as well as exploring business relationships with partnered websites and service providers. CyberGameway is the place you want to be for streaming gamers who want that sub bump. To apply for membership or sponsorship, head over to cybergameway.com. So this thing's been my desktop rig in different versions since about 2012. I bought it as an old Asus M11BB, which was some desktop. It did things. So I wasn't really doing a whole lot of PC gaming back at the time. I was doing most console stuff, Mass Effect, things like that. So I wasn't really a huge PC gamer. What I was doing was music recording, video recording, and some photo editing, things like that. So I really didn't need my PC to do a whole lot. It had 2 gigabytes of DDR2 RAM, a dinky little Asus motherboard, and an Asus FX2 APU, which wasn't that bad. But like I said, it wasn't doing a whole lot of gaming, so I didn't need it to do a whole lot. But then I noticed that a couple of games were starting to come out. One of them I actually kickstarted, which is called BattleTech. Been a huge mech gaming fan since I was a kid. So I knew I was going to want to play the hell out of that. Problem was, the computer that I had at the time wasn't going to handle it at all. When I got the Kickstarter beta, it was like watching slow motion through a really glitchy thing. It was terrible. Words. So I knew I was going to have to do a major overhaul. So at the time, it was just this dinky little case, so I bought this nifty Cooler Master CM9D. It's not much, and it was a little outdated at the time. This thing had FireWire, but I really liked the look of it, and as you can see, I did a little painting, made it look a little cool, and yeah, FireWire. So what I did was I gave it an Asus Z270 motherboard. Not bad. I put in an older i5 processor, an EVGA 1050 Ti GPU, works just fine. And I kept the hard drive, but I added a few more because I was going to need to do some other things, and the storage on that thing was terrible. But I didn't want to be switching stuff over to a new hard drive because it's tedious. So over the years, I've accumulated 5 hard drives, just hard drives, which total out to about 10 terabytes. So one of the things that we are going to be doing is getting rid of 3 of those things and putting in this Barracuda 8 terabyte, which will give me a total of 14. And there's a 500 gigabyte Samsung SSD in it. But what we're also going to do is put in this 970 EVO M.2 just for Windows and some other critical programs. And gonna keep the 500 gigabyte because I already have some games on it. But we're also gonna be adding this Patriot Viper 1 terabyte M.2. If you can find these things, they're really good price, and I've never had a problem with them on the 3 builds that I've used them for. One of the things that I've always loved about this case is the panels come off very easily, and they go back on really nicely. But as you can see, it's got these, ports for fans, which if you don't have any mounted, it just sucks air in and gets a whole lot of dust anywhere, even if you have screens on them. If you do have fans blowing air out, what it does is it forces you to either have a really small air cooler or get yourself an AIO. I didn't have the money for an AIO at the time, so I went for the small air cooler. What's on there is a Cooler Master T2, which is dinky. I wanted to put in a T4, but it won't fit. So, yeah. So what is in here at this point is an 8600K overclocked to about 4.6 gigahertz with no problems whatsoever. But when I'm doing video rendering or playing anything like Deus Ex, this thing just runs home to its mama and runs so hot that the air cooler in it cannot keep up and it throttles it a little bit. The RAM in here is 16 gigabytes of Corsair DDR4. Now, it's good RAM, but what I am going to be doing is upgrading it to something a bit faster, keeping the CPU, and then other than that, that's about all that's staying in here. Getting rid of the 3 hard drives, keeping 1. Keeping 1. Drastically upgrading the storage, switching out the 1050 for an RX 580. Sometimes when you can't afford, an RTX card, an RTX 580 is a really, really good substitute. I got this thing for $100. If you can find them, you can generally get them for that kind of price, and they're solid cards. Switching out the PSU, which is a Corsair CX PSU, switching it out for this EVGA 1000 watt. New cables, and this one I'll talk about later. And then what we're also going to be doing is switching out the air cooler for an EVGA CLC 120 AIO, which is nothing to shake a stick at, and taking the motherboard out and putting this nifty difty NZXT N7. All total, this thing is going to be a much better machine when I'm done with it, and apart from all that, what we're also going to be doing is modding the case. I like the way it looks now, but what I would really like to do is get rid of the fan holes and cut open a window with some plexiglass in there. And I haven't decided, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to be doing a window on this side too. Anybody knows that the back of a PC is not much to look at unless you really, really do your work on the cable management. I'm going to do that. I'm also going to be painting the inside of the case, so it gives it a little bit, you can really, really see what's going on, things pop. So yeah. Huge overhaul, huge modification, gonna be a lot of work, and I love that kind of thing. So with that in mind, let's go to the workshop. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull all this out and mount the CPU to the new motherboard and get everything else plugged in, because I'm a huge music lover and I refuse to be without music, and since this is obviously gonna take a couple of days, I'm gonna test everything out to make sure it works, and then I'm gonna put it in another case that I have and put it back on my desk while I finish all this stuff up. So this has become a huge problem. As I said, it's a dinky little T2 air cooler. And but other than that, this thing has worked really, really well for me over the past couple of years. And I've said there's 5, but there's actually 4 standard hard drives. There's the SSD right here. So 3 of these are getting rid of, and then I'm gonna put the 8 terabyte in and we'll be good to go. So very important if you're about to embark on a PC building trip, always have your anti-static bracelet and your tweezers. So I've got my tweezers. We are ready to build a computer. So, if you are just tuning in to If It Ain't Broke, Don't Fix It, here's the rub. The motherboard, the N7 motherboard, doesn't work. I'm going to have to RMA that. The cables that I got for the Supernova 1000 power supply has a flub because the CPU cable won't go in. And then to top it all off, the 8 terabyte hard drive that I bought brand new and worked in testing somehow did not work when I put the computer together on the test bench. Not to mention the fact that my 6 terabyte, which houses all my movies and TV shows and some of even my music recording files, also somehow died. So this is a pickle. I still do have some working hard drives. Some of the ones that we're using, definitely, which all had my own photo editing software, the Photoshop and all my archived photos, that still works. And then my music hard drive still works. But the whole reason I was upgrading the hard drives was to, consolidate some of that. So what's going to happen is the motherboard has to get RMA'd. The power supply cables have to go back so I can get the correct CPU one, which I'm talking to CableMod about that. And gonna have to get a new hard drive. Other than that, basically all I did was put it back together with the other motherboard, and now I'm going to dismantle the case so as to get to painting, which in the winter of Wisconsin is going to be a chore. So everything about this project is going swimmingly. So with that, going to end this video off with a high note, and we'll see you in the next one.